You don't know
You
me.
don't know me.
And I might look deranged
And I might
to
seem
you.
strange to you.
Walking the way
wearing
that
the
I
clothes
walk,
that I
talking the
wear,
way that
hair
I talk
dread
might
up
make
all
me
over
seem
my
kinda
head.
dangerous
And
too.
come over
But let
here.
me step
Let
up
me
kinda
tap on your
close and
ear.
say
A
some
second
things
or
to
two.
you
I
that'll
said
make
a
your thought
second
waves
or
come
two
to.
or three
Start to
is
jiggle
all I
and
need to make you
think
feel
about things
these,
that'll make a
heed
man or
these
woman
words.
out of you.
Peace. Welcome everyone to Coffee and Poets, produced by Lawrence Dinkins, aka Inside. At the Naked Lounge, 1111 H Street. My name is Dr. V.S. Chochezi, and I'm your host this evening. And I'm interviewing my mother, the wondrous matriarch and marvelous poetess, Staajabu. And I'd like to tell you just a little bit about her. This is her brief biography. Staajabu is the impetus behind the unique mother and daughter poetry team known as Straight Out Scribes, aka SOS. She's read her original poems at numerous venues in California and nationally. She is widely published, has received many honors and awards, and has self-published 6 books of poetry and 2 CD compilations as part of SOS Straight Out Scribes. In addition to her writing and performance accomplishments, Staajabu initiated, co-produced, and coordinated many consciousness-raising events and fundraisers in Sacramento since she first decided to make it her home in 1991. She is often referred to as an activist poet and has spent the past 25 years working on the campaign to free Mumia Abu Jamal and the Move 9. Staajabu was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and raised in Camden, New Jersey. She's a writer, editor, producer, poet, health advocate, prison rights activist, graphic artist, and crafts person. Please welcome Staajabu to Coffee and Poets. Staajabu, as you know, I reached out to our Straight Out Scribes Facebook fans, our friends, our family, and folks, and I gave them an opportunity to submit questions that they have for you. So I liked what I received, and I wanted to begin the question and answer with those. Your fans want to know, Rosie in Southern California near Pachanga asked, what was your first poetic inspiration, poet or person?
Okay.
Or poem?
Hey, Rosie, what's up? Long time no see. Let's see. Yeah, I remember very distinctly one of the first poems that really impressed me was If by Rudyard Kipling. And even though I'd heard a lot of poetry, that really resonated with me because at the time I had a lot of turmoil in my life. And just saying that poem with Miss Edwards in 8th grade, who was a really tall black woman who scared the shit out of everybody, made me memorize. And if you missed the line, she'd hit you with this ruler. So I memorized If by Rudyard Kipling, and I always felt like, wow, that's such a great poem. I always wanted to write a great poem like that. And then after that, probably Into Jacques Shange was one of my next biggest influences for colored girls who consider suicide when the rainbow is enough. And one of her poems really resonated with me is somebody almost walked away with all my stuff. And I thought how many times that had happened to me and how so many people could relate to it. And then the last poets, of course, Nikki Giovanni, Jane Cortez, all inspired me, made me feel like, wow, so much to be said about so many situations and so many different struggles in life and happy times too. So I hope that satisfies Rosie's question.
Kim Merriman, right here in Sacramento, asked, when did you start working with your daughter, yours truly, and when did you know it was something special?
Well, daughter and I have been hanging out a long time. She don't usually tell people how old she is, but it's been a few years. And we started doing poetry together with the Candlelight Poets in Oakland, not as a team, but we would both read on their open mic. And then Carol, I think African Expressions poetry sessions, which a lot of people may not remember, but it was 3 different events, 7 poets reading for 7 minutes at each event. And Sanana helped me put that together and got me where I had to be on time and helped me set up, because we'd always have refreshments and information for people. Because whenever we did any event, we tried to educate people and help somebody in the process. So that's when, and then when people started telling us how envious they were of our relationship, how some would get teary-eyed because we were a mother-daughter team working together, and I knew it was something very special. And plus, with her came 2 other people, my granddaughters. So I really had a team of workers that I could exploit. And I exploited them as much as I could. They would help me set up, carry stuff begrudgingly. And sometimes Dr. Chochezi would be an unwilling participant. But she would always be so curious, and she had the nerve to try to find out how this was going to turn out, whatever big idea I would have. So she's been really a lot of fun. Plus, although our poets, we have similar trains of thought, but not identical, and our poetry is not always the same in terms of content or subject matter, but they more or less complement each other in terms of a youthful versus an elder perspective. And then we have the younger girls who are now in their late 20s adding to the mix with their poetry. So we have 3 generations of insight and observation to draw from.
Thank you. Shirley in Florida asked, how does your poetry relate to who you are as a person?
You know, that's a big subject, and I've been on the planet for a few years, 70 to be exact. So as a person, I've grown, I've morphed, I've evolved, I've done all the stuff. And poetry has always been a constant. There were like years where I never wrote any poetry. I created other things and had fun, some not so fun, had relationships. All the stuff. But poetry has been a way for me to express some of my deepest feelings. And I don't always read all the poems that I write. I have volumes of poems. And most of them have never been read to anyone. But yeah, it's a part of my life. I wouldn't say a large part, because I do a lot of things. I'm a musician. I love music. I'm an artist. I love art. I'm a crafts person. I love crafts. I like to travel. I do so many things. So, poetry is a part, and maybe it is a large part. Maybe it's in everything I do. You tell me, somebody. Nice necklace.
Thank you. Bahamas.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Colette weighed in all the way from London. She asks, what is the most urgent world issue we should tackle? How should we tackle that issue, and what concerns you about our ability to address that issue?
Yeah, you would know Colette had to have a 3-part question, right? Because she's so deep like that.
That's Dr. Colette.
Dr. Colette, yeah. So, yeah. It's crucial that we do everything we can to save our planet right now. To me, it's on the verge of self-destruction. So, and it's hard for me not to get preachy about reducing our energy use and being aware of our carbon footprint, recycling, pre-cycling, and being aware that we're all connected, that everything on the planet is connected, and that we've been entrusted with this planet to keep it for our progeny, for the people that come after. So we need to educate in terms of what can we do. We need to educate at a very basic level from home to school. Don't wait till they're in college to start telling them, don't use a bunch of stuff that you don't need to. And be aware of the food you prepare, what it comes in, the packaging and containers, and how we travel and the products we use. So it needs to start at a very basic level, like with my great-grandkids at their age, 2 and 4. And I still see too much trash in the street. There's no way there should be so much trash. And if we use everything, and if we let things wear out instead of... See, Lawrence wears the same clothes all the time. Because he don't just change clothes to be changing clothes. Like, I try to wear the same clothes all the time because I want them to wear out. And I patch them if they start wearing out. But it's, clothes are one of my pet peeves, where people always buy new clothes and buying new clothes. And the secondhand stores can't even hold all the old clothes people be giving away. So I would say people just be aware that you have a planet to save, and it's up to us to make sure that we keep it safe for the next generation.
So I didn't hear you talk about the nuclear arms and bombing and drones and okay, but
because I don't know very much about that. Okay. My level of environmental knowledge is very basic. Use what you need. Don't waste water. Don't waste paper. They're trees. I mean, it's like recycle everything. If you can't use it anymore, give it to somebody who can. It's very basic. When you get to the level of nuclear warheads, those people weren't taught that at an early age. They weren't taught that we were all connected, that everything we do affects something. You can't do anything in a vacuum, in the abstract. Everything you do, from the toothpaste you use to the washcloth you use to wash your face with, affects something. It's going to wind up in a landfill when it's all rags. It's going to, yeah.
Excellent.
So nuclear, those people should have been taught better when they were younger. They wouldn't be talking nuclear right now because they know the deal. So that's why you haven't heard me address those issues. I don't even know how a nuclear bomb is made. I just know it'll fuck everything up.
Right.
So, but if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to fuck everything up anyway. If you don't change the way you live, it won't be an issue. So, if we keep taking oil out the ground, taking dirt out the ground, building skyscrapers on top of the space that we just took everything out of, what's going to happen? It's going to fall down. It's a waste of time and energy and life and resources. And we have a sun, there is alternative energy right now. There's, we don't have to use oil. We're just using it out of habit. There are more windmills. We don't have to use the electrical grids we've been using. We don't have to use all those nuclear plants for energy. The sun gives us energy. So I don't have any degrees, but something tells me that these people were not taught properly at a very basic age.
All right, there you have it, Colette. That's very practical advice that anybody should be able to contribute to. Recycle, reuse, reduce your use.
Yes, I like that. Reduce your use.
Errol out of Atlanta asked, how are you so awesome?
Well, if I am perceived as awesome, which Errol might be the only one who so perceives me as thus, I have to give thanks to my awesome parents, D.P. Dorn and Grace Harris Bortley, because they were awesome people. And my whole family is awesome, and we all do some great things and creative things, and I just think my family is the bomb, so if I am awesome, it's because I give thanks and praises to the most high creative energy in the universe of the people who made me so. So, yeah. And Errol and Winnie are one of the most awesome couples you could ever meet. They are wonderful people. And they live in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and they're from Jamaica. And they're so sweet. Thank you, Errol.
All right, Staajabu, before we move on to other questions, would you please share 2 poems with us?
Okay. So instead of a poem, I'm going to read the preface to one of our books. It's called BAM. It's one of our early books, but I always like the what we call What's Up with the book. And it goes like this. We titled this book BAM because when they finish this book, we want our readers to feel they've slammed the door on ignorance, apathy, selfishness, greed, racism, and waste. We chose this title because our words are the most potent weapon we can use against those who would destroy the beauty of this world through senseless wars and insatiable lust for material possessions. Our poems are our clubs, bats, and boxing gloves. They are our protests against industrial pollution, federal and state budget cuts in education and social programs, colonial occupations, apartheid, guns, wars, the death penalty, the murder and incarceration of the Move family Africa, the unjust sentencing of Geronimo Pratt, Leonard Peltier, Delcia Pagan, Wapashitwe Mondo Wilanga, taxation without representation and white male domination over a planet occupied by many varied species of life forms. We want these writings to carry force. We want them to strike hard and to change the life of anyone who ever thought that her or his opinion didn't matter. BAM is a challenge. BAM is the sound of an impact. We wanted to make you get up, stand up, do something, and say something about the injustices that are going down. We wanted to stop you from acting without thinking, thinking without acting, hurting yourself and hurting others. BAM, brothers and sisters, with love. BAM, 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 bam. Because I grew up in Camden, New Jersey, and had some great friends and a very, very active young adulthood. Motown was a big part of my life. Music was a big part of my life. And this is called Motown. Motown was more than a music company to us. To me, Chris, Jenny, and Rose, it was the wonderful feeling we got from hearing Smokey Robinson, the Miracles, the Temptations, and the Four Tops. It was hours spent learning words and what they meant in the songs we heard. Motown was practicing dance steps together in front of Aunt Lila's house on Atlantic Avenue before going to the Sumner School dance in Branch Village. It meant harmonizing on the steps of 427 Mechanic Street at night with William and Jimmy Holly, or watching the people dance in the corner bar where we went to play the number for our moms. 4 in the lead, boxed and straight, please. Motown meant skating at the Mount Ephraim Avenue skating ring on Black Folks Night, or going to Franklinville with Carolyn Whaley and Alberta Jones, skating to the beat and rhyme, bouncing at the same time, gliding all smooth and slick to the rich bass and harmonies. Motown artists were more than music. They were a large and wonderful part of our lives. And me, Jenny, Chris, and Rose, who knows? Perhaps we are who we are and what we are today because of those get-down funky, rhythm and bluesy, close your eyes and sing all high, loud, and off-key Motown sounds. Ooh, baby, baby.
Of all the poems you have written, do you have a favorite?
No.
Okay.
I might read some of the same poems a lot, but it's just because of time constraints and because they're handy and we've memorized them and stuff like that. But I don't have a favorite poem. I love all the poems.
Ideally, what would you like your poetry to do?
Inspire people to think for themselves, mostly. Uplift people, make them ask questions, inform people, and awaken people to new ideas. That's what I would like for my poetry to do.
Please describe your top 3 poetry moments.
There's no way I can do that. No way. I almost had an aneurysm trying to figure that one out. Man. My mind went like, whoa. We've read it so many places, and we've been with so many people. What about you, man? I mean, like, you've done the same thing that I've done, but I couldn't pick out 3.
You gotta take a stab at it.
Man, no way.
I would say I do have some favorite moments, like being commissioned by the Crocker Art Museum to write for an exhibit and going to view the exhibit in a closed private session. I thought that was great. That
was amazing.
Yeah.
For real. Yeah, we had a whole, like,
That was
almost
tremendous.
2 hours to read our writings to that exhibit. Yeah, that was cool. What about the Capitol Steps, for the 1,000
The
million?
1,000-man march.
It was thousands of people out there. Yeah.
That was a highlight for sure.
That was a highlight, but yeah.
But you're right. It's hard to pick top 3. Opening for Iyanla Van Zandt.
That was cool.
That
But you were
was good.
sick that night.
But I was healed, too.
Yeah.
Iyanla.
Yeah. I mean, we've done the reading at the Palms in Davis, man.
That was cool.
Whew, that was off the
With
chain,
Diane
man.
Patterson.
Yeah, with Diane Patterson, and then that was, whoa. And the one, it was so many. What about the people that took us to, with the hotel and everything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've done some great shows.
And that one infamous city that I can't think of right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Yes, okay. Top 3 poetry moments. We've had too many.
I couldn't just pick 2,
pick
3.
3. Okay.
What about reading with the last poets, man? That was big.
That
time.
was, that's definitely top 3, yeah. Or top 10 or something, in no prioritized order. What role have comic books played in your writing?
I still love comic books. My brother taught me how to read using comic books when I was very little. And the first writings I remember doing were cartoon characters with the bubble over their head making a story. And he read a lot of science fiction, so a lot of my ideas, I remember drawing creatures. I drew creatures for years, all kind of creatures. Creatures and dresses, then creatures in dresses, and dresses with creatures on them, all kind of creatures. But I really love comic books to this day. I still read comic books every chance I get, especially superheroes. I love superheroes and sheroes. So I do consider myself Afrocentric and Afrofuturistic because I deal a lot in the future. I think a lot about the future. And I think enough of us got the past held down pretty tight. We got slavery down. We know where we came from. So it makes me feel a little free to think about the future because I don't have the past so much weighting me down. I know they say if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going, but some of us do know where we're going. We know where we came from. We know where we're going. We see the future. We have visions of the future. We can express it. What we see, and I can see it clearly. So. Afrofuturistic came from the comics.
All right. When you share poetry on a program, how many poems ideally would you prefer to share?
I don't have a preference. It just depends on the program. Okay. I just know that time-wise, I'm very conscious of time. And if I'm asked to do 10 minutes, I'll probably do 9 just to make sure I don't go over. I'm always conscious of trying to respect the audience's time and all the other poets on the program. So I would prefer not to be asked to do a program where I'm only going to read one poem, because it takes me a lot to get to any venue. I don't have a car, so I'm taking buses or trying to get a ride or whatever. So if I'm going to come out to a venue to read, especially in the evening, I want it to be, at least 20 minutes on the program. So it'll be worth my while. And some money and some food and some eye candy. A couple joints, something.
Okay. You have experience writing in other genres besides poetry. Tell us a little bit about that. You already kind of touched on it, but tell us a little more.
I was trained to be a photojournalist in the United States Air Force Reserves. So a lot of my writing has been in that arena. I've been a staff writer for several publications, The Source at UC Berkeley, The Talon, the Air Force Reserve newspaper, Dover Air Force Base, and Because People Matter here in Sacramento. I contributed essays and features and interviews for those publications. I've had some autobiographical pieces published in anthologies, Children of the Dream, Our Black Fathers, Brave, Bold, and Beautiful. I Woke Up and Put My Crown On by Rochelle D. Hart, a.k.a. Rhodesi. And I had some science fiction pieces published in Zyka's anthologies. The Running is one, and Caldonia's Daughters is another one. And Dream, Write, and Speak, Dream, what is it?
I'm not sure.
Therefore we write and speak, write, dream. Yeah, so that's some of the other stuff I do, excuse me. I've written.
What advice do you have for emerging or experienced poets?
Whenever possible, I would like to see poets use poetry to help others. I just feel that that's the right thing to do. If you have a talent and you don't use it to help others, it's like, what are you doing it for? I don't know. So I would say, whenever possible, use your poetry as a vehicle to help others. And when you share with others, try to uplift, inspire, and enlighten them.
All right. What was the state of poetry when you first came to Sacramento? That's an audience question.
It was a mess. Actually, there were only 3 readings that I remember that went on a regular basis, and they were mostly for the white population, and that was Luna's, and it was Luna's. Wellspring, I think, had a reading, and Idea Gallery. You remember any others?
I don't remember those. Gene Black did a reading. Luke Bright, I think, did one. I don't remember when
at the
Lioness...
Sacramento Poetry Center, they had a reading.
Okay.
Lioness, yeah,
Lioness
they had a
books.
and then
It
most
was
of
a feminist.
So when I saw that, and coming from Oakland, I said, well, let's... and because Mumia was on death row at the time, I thought poetry would be a good vehicle to bring his case to the public and to make people aware of him. Plus, we had done some work in Delaware around this case, too, and the Move family. So I remember seeing Kepler sitting on a bench waiting for a bus, and she was the sister. I said, "Sister, do you know any black poets in this town?" because I decided I was going to do a reading. And she said, yeah, and she connected us to Shah Muhammad,
Keith
H., Charles Curtis Blackwell, Akila J. They were the primaries, I think, that we started working with. And Michael Ellis, yeah. So I produced 3 poetry readings called African Expressions Poetry Sessions was the main title. And then under it would be the title of the reading, Afro Expressions Poetry Sessions. And then under it would be like, African poets speak on love. African poets speak on women, like that. And I did 3. And we had a lot of fun with that. People paid to come in, and we were able to donate money to Mumia's campaign, and we had refreshments and everything. But we learned a lot too. We learned we had to set parameters because these poets had tremendous egos. They had been the only black poets on the circuit for a long time, and people deferred to them, especially Akila J. Everybody loved her. And Charles Curtis Blackwell, he thought he was the poet. So he would always...
You know this is being recorded.
Shut up.
It's going to be nationally broadcast.
He would always go over time, and some of the other poets would too. So we had to set parameters. And then we had a poet come on and do some things that made the audience flinch.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, it made them uncomfortable. So we did one at Carol's Books. And we had 7 poets, 7 great poets. And some of them are gone. Some have passed on. May peace and blessings of Allah be upon Akila J. and Jean Black and some of the other wonderful poets that have passed through Sacramento. But we did one at Carol's Books, and Carol asked if we would do another. And then that's how we started with poetry on a Saturday afternoon at Carol's Books. And we did that for 9 years. First every Saturday for 2 years, and then the last Saturday of the month for the remaining time. And we really had fun doing that. It was like we featured a different poet every time, and we had open mic. And we gave our poets 50 minutes, our feature 50 minutes. Oh, wow. We had a 2-hour program where we started on time at 2, and we were out by 4. That's when we closed, so... I was consistent. We never missed a Saturday. We were never late starting for 9 years. So people knew that we would be there and it would be fun. And then something unusual always happened. Every time we met, we had all kind of people come through there. It was so fun. So yeah, State of Poetry. But in the 9 years... Well, the last year we did at Kinks International, we did poetry on a Saturday afternoon at Kinks at 15th and G. And by the time we finished and we said goodbye, we were just worn out. She was involved in studies and working, and the girls were bigger and doing all kind of stuff and getting ready to go to college, and I was ready to split and go see my family on the East Coast. So when we said goodbye to poetry on a Saturday afternoon, there were more readings in Sacramento in various places. Some of the people who read for the first time at Poetry on a Saturday afternoon now had their own venue, had published poetry, and poetry, its time had come. And we had the National Poetry Festival here, a lot of poetry going on now. It's good to see. Coming back after being gone for 6 years this time. It's really good to see Inside doing his reading, Terry, Kyrie, all the new poetry venues. Great. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Some other unusual features for Poetry on a Saturday afternoon, we did community announcements.
Right.
Every time. There was like 15 minutes for just community announcements. Anybody could get on the mic and just talk about what they had going on in the community. And then Mom made up this game probably in the last few years, Know Your Peeps. Know Your Peeps. And so people could win door prizes if they guessed,
I'd have a
famous
picture of
people.
somebody, a black person, and they'd have to guess. The first person to guess got a door prize.
Right.
And we would ask the audience, is there anyone in the audience that has a profession we need to know about? And so people with businesses and everything would just stand up and say they were a doctor, or they had a massage parlor, or they were bootlegging liquor or whatever. They could tell us about it.
And it was free. It was always free.
Always
we
free.
never charged people to come and hear poetry on a Saturday afternoon.
And we paid the poets.
And we paid the poets, and we provided snacks and things like that. And then people of all ages came. There were young people, children, who came and began reading on open mic at like age 8 and 10 and things like that. And grandmas. I remember, was it Mother Rose?
Mother Ruby.
Mother Ruby.
She read her first poem. She was 98 then.
Right.
She had just published.
She had just
book.
published her first book of poetry and came and read it at Poetry.
She tried to
on
hang on to
Saturday.
the mic. Remember, we had to take the mic away
We
from
had the
her.
rest of the mic covered. But yeah, that was beautiful. And
That's
okay,
poetry
I
in
still have more.
Sacramento. We've seen it grow.
Okay, my final question for you is, we opened with Renewed Acquaintances. Please talk about that poem and about our weaves.
Oh man, Renewed Acquaintances is a long poem. We just do a little taste of it as a weave. And I don't know how we started doing weaves. Do you?
It was your brainchild, I'm sure of that.
Okay, see, I said, okay, so next time we go, we're going to do this. We're going to do our feet this way, and we're going to do a little dip. And then we're going to fall back like that, right? And she said, no, I'm not doing that. So, but see, my strategy was to say something really outlandish to do. And when she wouldn't agree to it, then I'd come up with something a little less. And she said, okay, I can do that. So with Renewed Acquaintances, that would be the first part of it. And I got it, I don't know how I was inspired to write that, but I just saw a lot of things I wanted to address. And it came to me in a poem through the creation of all things. So...
All right.
Did you want me to read that?
Would you mind?
I don't know if I have it.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. I'll read part of it.
All right.
You don't know me, and I might look strange to you. Wearing the clothes that I wear, hair dread up all over my head and do. Come over here and let me tap on your ear a second or two. I said a second or two is all I need for you to feel heed these words. While you gaming and playing and skipping and dipping, y'all need to stop illin', just chillin', jiving straight, tripping. Stop being small, hanging out in the mall, watching TV and all, while your communities fall and they're trying to kill Mumia Abu Jamal. You got skill, got talent, got intelligence. So why don't you stand tall and represent? Don't act like a fool who never been through the schools of life, don't know the rules of life. Cool. So maybe you weren't born to be a king or a queen, but you know you were born to be someone crucial on the scene. Respect the people in life that's got your back in life and who won't punk out when you're under attack in life. Hold your head high, open your third eye, and recognize that your mission and your purpose here can only succeed with your brothers and your sisters at your side. Let's start respecting one another.
Let's
start respecting one another. You don't know me. Know me. Know me. And know this. I am your sister. So that's the first part of it.
All right. Would you mind sharing a couple more poems with us?
Well, I'm going to read this one.
Okay.
This is condolences to my sisters who never stood a chance. Because I am a feminist, a womanist, and I believe in uplifting sisters because they carry half the weight of the world in their lap. I offer my sincere condolences, my sisters, for the death of your spirit, murdered by the shampoo and hair color commercials that seduced you into applying chemicals to the beautiful, unruly hair which crowned your brilliant, curious mind. I watched you being hindered in your natural development by curtailing your activities to keep your hair intact. And Venus forbid that you should sweat it back, mess it up, or have some of your roots show. Oh no! I witnessed your spirit being subdued by men who wanted you to be quiet at their side while they made believe they were controlling the world, bragging and boasting of their conquest over others, over our mother, Earth, keeping you ignorant of your moon cycle. My sympathy, sisters, for the agony you endured as you lost your hair, along with your backbone, and in its place gained the symptoms of capitalism, dissatisfaction, greed, vanity, envy, obesity, apathy, arthritis, diabetes. You never stood a chance because romance was fed to you with your first spoon of sugar-laden baby food, along with stories of punk Cinderella who wouldn't stand up for herself, waiting for a prince to save her. Snow W who fell for the old apple trick, waiting for a prince to save her. Sleeping ugly, waiting for a prince to save her. Now here you are, watching TV, movies, reading romance novels and magazines, waiting for some joker named Botox to save you. My condolences, my sisters. You never stood a chance. That was one more.
Right, the feminist, womanist poem. Yes.
Yeah, feminist Nazi.
Uh-uh.
Since we're getting ready to get into the holiday spirit, some would say, madness, others would say. This is called Holiday Poem. The trees lay prone, all tied and packed together on trucks, enduring a middle passage en route to be sold on the auction block of holidays pending, dollars made, wishes made, demands made. Madness overcomes freeways and highways, shopping becomes a vocation, and malls an obstacle course to be avoided at all costs unless you are one of the chosen carriers of plastic magic. Trees lay prone against fences of abandoned lots full of fallen brown leaves and discarded wrappers of the addicted sugar eaters who murder them yearly to commemorate the death of a season, the birth of a child, the absence of peace, appeasing their guilt with thoughts of recycled mulch, while anxious hands clutch the gadgets and toys which will shortly be destroyed or forgotten until next year's mass slaughter. I hear the wind admonishing, the sky is threatening, and acid rain falls on a plastic Santa Claus as the trees lay prone.
All right. So I would like to ask you, right now the audience, there's a list circulating, and so the audience may come up with a few more questions for you. But in the meantime, I'd like to ask you if you would mind sharing a love poem.
I think I have one.
And if not, a laundry poem would be great.
I have one of those.
Mm-hmm. And maybe you could talk about
I'm
that
not talking
series.
about that.
The laundry poem? You don't want to talk about the laundry poem series?
Okay, yeah, I'll talk about that.
Okay.
Okay, so, Prisoner of Love. Yeah. When he picked me up from the laundromat, he asked about the man I was talking with at the folding table, and the next day, he bought a washing machine. One day he saw me talking with the next door neighbor while hanging up clothes in the backyard, and the next day he bought a clothes dryer. He saw me talking with people at the bus stop, so he started driving me to and from work, and when my parents called, he listened in on the extension phone. He said it was too dangerous for me to walk, run, bike, or shop alone. I spoke of taking piano lessons from a master pianist at a shop downtown, so he bought a beautiful piano in perfect tune, along with how-to playbooks inside a blue and brown tapestry-covered piano bench. One night after dinner, I washed the dishes while he sat at the kitchen table reading the paper. When he went to the bathroom, I retrieved my coffee can stash, gathered the trash, took it out back, walked quietly through the gate down the alley to the main street, boarded a bus, slouched down in the seat, and contemplated my new freedom and solitude. Is that a love poem?
That's a state poem.
That explains a lot. So talk about that poem.
That poem was inspired by the laundry series, in which I submitted 5 poems to about laundry and how laundry is just a part of our everyday life, but not really. There's always a story behind every piece of clothing, where you bought it, how you washed it, how you lost it, how you tore it, how you spilled the stain down the front, who you were with, and everything. So when the first poem I wrote was about my mother doing laundry, because I'm from an older generation, and we didn't have laundromats. We had to do all our laundry at home.
Yes, I remember hanging clothes on the line.
Yeah, we hung our clothes on the line. And I did have this poem is called Clean Love. And it's hanging in the bathroom at Soap Salon. If you ever want to go to Soap Salon and say, "Can I use your bathroom?" So I can read this poem. We met on a bus, became friends, then lovers, moved in together. He hated his work, had secrets, loved me from a far-off land. I could feel in his thick, heavy dread. He led. I followed because his far-off love was more tender and sincere than any of the possessive, ego-involved, mechanical, obligatory copulations of my past. We had no car and no wash house near enough to walk, so I washed our clothes by hand. I didn't mind because we both loved the smell of wind and sun in our small place that mingled with the frankincense and wafting whiffs of cumin, fava beans, collard greens, goat cheese, dolmas, coffee. Oh, I can smell it. Along with the non-chapa, patchouli, marijuana aromas on the clothes of visiting friends, and them speaking Arabic, Swahili, Spanish, French, Jamaican patois, Louisiana patois, and Ebonics on weekends. Our mat was full and soft and clean, and he slept still, his body dark ebony, long, lean, sinewy, face full, bearded, and peaceful. The last night we spent together. The call came from his friend in broken English. He was gone, and my only solace was the comfort of knowing that when he gently kissed my forehead and left for work that morning, everything he wore, even his coat, had been freshly washed and smelled of wind and sun. That's a little poem, huh?
Someone asked from our audience, what made you start to embrace the natural movement, and what intrigued you about it?
It was a long time ago. Probably about 65. But even before that, when I was young, I'm very tender-headed, and I used to run from the comb. I used to hide. I would cry, scream. I had a lot of hair. And so finally, they just left me alone. And I told them I knew how to take care of my hair by the time I was 10. So what I did was I would wash it, and then I just brushed the top over all of it and tie it back in a ball. And I kept doing that and doing that and doing that. And then one day, my mom was introducing me to somebody, and she put her hand on the top of my head, and she said, she stopped in mid-sentence. She said, "This is my middle daughter, girl." She looked at me, she said, "I do believe you have lost your mind. Get in that bathroom." And I had all this hair. My head kept getting bigger and bigger, but nobody noticed it because I had all this hair that I had just brushed over the top of it and just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I had really embraced the natural movement. I never liked having my hair done. And as soon as I was able, I cut. My mother sent me, after that she started sending me to Miss Mildred. Oh my God. Miss Mildred was like the Attila the Hun. She pulled and chopped, and so I told her one day, Mom said it was okay to cut it. And she cut it real short up to my ear. And of course my mother had told me no. But it was nothing she could do. When I walked up in there with my hair cut, all she did was, she just stood there with her mouth open. She didn't know what to say. Like, she came home with a perm one time. And there was nothing I could say. You know?
She said plenty.
I probably did. But yeah, so and to me it was futuristic too. I have a really strong urge to be in the future. And I had read a lot about different people doing different things to their hair in the future. Shaved heads. I wore my head shaved for years, like about 3 years. I was bald. And I just wanted to experience everything with my hair, with my own hair. But in terms of locks, once I saw the Marley, I was through. I had to have locks. But it was a struggle back then to have locks because people thought it was so deep, you know. So I embraced locks from just seeing them and always wanted to have them. As soon as I could, I locked my hair.
Do you
that was
remember
probably, you were probably about 8, 10 maybe.
When you started locking?
The first time, yeah.
Oh,
when I was with Greg, that's the first time.
Oh.
No, you were probably 15. So it's been a long time. Years and years. And I've cut them 3 times. They've been down to my waist, and I've cut them. I was shaved. I shaved my head like 5 years ago. So I was bald on the East Coast for a long. I had a see-through Corvatus type. Yeah. So 5 years ago.
Thank you for being such a wonderful guest, Staajabu, on Coffee and Poets podcast and inside Lawrence Dinkins event. And thank you, wonderful studio audience.
Thank you, everybody. Peace.